This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of December 24th, 2023. Happy holidays to all those observing. Content authenticity statement: 100% of this week's newsletter was generated by me, the human. When I use AI, I will disclose it prominently. There's a link in the newsletter for why this is important. Now it's doubly important because with the new EU AI Act, they are quite clear in this legislation, which is going to become the gold standard for the world. Disclosure of AI is not optional. All right, what's on my mind this week as we wind down 2023? About 2 weeks ago, at the beginning of December 2023, the French company Mistral released a new model called Mixtral, which is sort of a neologism for Mistral, mixture of experts. This made a well-deserved big splash in the AI community, the tech community. But for those outside the tech nerd community, aka the real world, there might be some head scratching as to why this is a big deal. So today, let's walk through what this thing is, why it matters, and how you might or might not make use of it. First, Mixtral is a sparse mixture of experts language model. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in that sentence there. A mixture of experts model is when you take a language model and within the inner workings of this model, instead of having one model making decisions and generating outputs, you have several. The concept is not new. The concept's been around since the early 1990s. It was first conceived in 1991 by Emil Jacobs et al. In a paper called Adaptive Mixtures of Local Experts. So, how is this different in practical terms? When you use a system with a monolithic model, like ChatGPT, the free version which uses the GPT 3.5 Turbo model. By the way, it's rumored that GPT-4 is actually an ensemble of models and not just one big one, kind of proving the point. But when you use the free version of ChatGPT, your prompt goes into the system. The model makes its predictions, and it spits out an answer. The model has to be good at everything, right? It has to, and nothing that is within the model is doing any kind of checking for accuracy or improvements. To the extent that a language model like ChatGPT's free version has any checking, it's done at the tuning phase when the model is taught how to answer questions. In a mixture of experts model, instead of one big monolithic model, there's an ensemble of different models within it. Your prompt gets parsed, and then different tasks within the model are assigned. The component parts do their work, and the results are then assembled. Let's put this in a familiar analogy. Think of a monolithic model like the free version of ChatGPT as a really strong, really skilled chef, right? They get an order for pizza and they go to work making the dough, mixing the sauce, preparing the toppings, getting the pizza in the oven and boxing it up. The entire process is done by one person, that very skilled chef, and they have to be skilled at everything from beginning to end. This person has to be equally skilled at all parts of the job. They got to be fast, they got to be accurate, or you get a bad pizza, right? Chef's got to be good at shredding cheese and folding boxes, you name it. The chef's got to be really, really capable. And so that chef is probably going to be very expensive to hire and retain. And because they have to be good at everything sequentially, it might take them some time to prepare your pizza, right? Your pizza might take a while to be ready. And the only way to mitigate that is to get a bigger bigger chef, like a faster chef, someone who's that much faster, which is very difficult to do after a certain point. Now, think of a mixture of experts model like a kitchen staff. There's a head chef who takes the order and then, like you see on Kitchen Nightmares, just starts yelling instructions, routes instructions to the different people on the team. One person gets started with the pizza sauce. Someone else is shredding cheese. Another's chopping up toppings. Another person's making the dough. There's a person over there in the corner folding boxes, getting ready for the output from the oven. They collaborate. This team collaborates. They get the pizza assembled and then, gets boxed up. This mixture of experts model has a couple of key differences that make it preferable for certain tasks. For one thing, you get more done in the same amount of time because you have multiple people working on component tasks, right? The person slicing the pepperoni doesn't also have to toss the dough, doesn't have to be the same one shredding cheese in this example. The person boxing up the pizza is not the person making the sauce. So you get more done, right? Because things can happen in parallel. Second advantage is that not everyone has to be good at everything. The person who folds the pizza boxes and boxes up the pizzas coming out of the oven has to be good at their job. But they don't have to be good at making sauce or shredding cheese or tossing dough. They can just focus on their job. A third advantage is that not everyone has to be working all the time at the same time. In our example, the person folding pizza boxes and boxing up pizzas They're not called on the line until this pizza ready to go. So there's no point in having that person standing around in the kitchen. We summon them when they have work to do. Otherwise, we don't bother them. That's what's happening inside a mixture of experts model. A model like Mixtral will have component parts in a router. The router is like the head chef parceling out tokens from the prompt to different submodels. There might be a submodel that's good at verbs, another one that's good at proper nouns, another that's good at adjectives, and each one gets work as the router sends it their way. The part that handles grammar might not be invoked until later in the process, right? So there's some computational efficiency. First, you want to predict the verbs and the nouns, and then at the sort of the latter stage, then you bring in the grammar and the spelling expert. Now, there are some downsides to mixtures experts models. They are memory intensive. Just like a pizza kitchen, you need a bigger kitchen to accommodate a team of 8 instead of a team of 1. Even that one person's like a really big person. 8 people you need more floor space, right? The same is true in a mixture of experts model. You need more physical memory in your computers to run it because you're essentially running more or less like 8 different models at the same time. And you can get collisions of models and data interference as the experts do their work, which can make the outputs potentially less stable, although in a well-tuned model that has been accounted for. Again, think of the pizza kitchen. If your kitchen's not big enough, you're going to have people running into each other, on the floor and on the line. Like the pepperoni guy just crashed into the cheese guy. Mistral's initial benchmarks place it from a computational perspective at or just slightly above OpenAI's GPT 3.5 Turbo model on general performance. On Chatbot Arena, which is, by the way, is this enormously fun place where you can give it prompts and it will randomly compare models, and you score the models, thumbs up, thumbs down, as to who did a better job. So it's real-world outputs. In Chatbot Arena, Mixtral rates above GPT 3.5 Turbo in terms of human reviews. It also rates above Google's new Gemini model, which is, whoops, and it rates above Claude 2.1, right? That's pretty incredible, given that you can run Mixtral on a beefy consumer laptop, and you can't do that with GPT 3.5 Turbo. You can't do that with Gemini. You can't do that with Anthropic's Claude 2.1. Those models, they require a room full of servers or a building full of servers, right? That Mixtral can run on a souped-up laptop, and it's very, very fast. It does inference, aka spitting things out, at roughly the same speed as a 13 billion parameter model. Now, if you've dabbled in open weights models like Llama, for example, you know that 13 billion parameter models are a good balance of speed and coherence. Smaller models, very fast, they have some quality issues, right? A 2 or 3 billion parameter model, more often than not, just blows up off the rails. 33 billion parameter models are very robust, you need a lot of memory, and they're not fast. Having a model like Mixtral that gives you server room level quality on a consumer laptop in a timely manner is a big deal. Right? That is a big, big deal. It's like being able to drive a sports car, but you paid for like an economy car. Right? That's how big a deal it is. It's like you paid for a propeller plane and you got a fighter jet in terms of performance. For example, if you have a MacBook Pro that has an M series chip, the M1, M2, M3, and 64 gigabytes of RAM, you can run Mixtral comfortably on it, and it'll just run just fine, and your computer can do other things at the same time. If you have a Windows machine with like an NVIDIA RTX 3090 or 4090 graphics card, you can run Mixtral very comfortably on your laptop. Again, think of how big a deal it is. Google Gemini, Claude 2.1, GPT 3.5, huge companies, huge servers, and you can get better quality on your laptop from an open model. It's crazy. So when and how would you use a model like Mixtral? Mixtral's primary use case is when you need accuracy and speed from a language model. As with many other language models, but especially open weights models, you want to avoid using it as a source of knowledge, right? You don't want to ask it knowledge-based questions like recommend 10 pizza places in Chicago. That's not what it's good at. It is best suited for being a translation layer in your process where you have a prompt, it interprets the prompt, and then goes to some form of data store, like an internal database for answers, gets the data back from that data store, and then interprets it back into language. If you've used Microsoft Bing with ChatGPT, that's what Bing is doing, right? It uses GPT to take your question, turn it into a Bing query, ask Bing's search engine, Bing sends back answers, and then the GPT model turns it back into language. That's the best use case for these style of models. Mixtral in this sort of format would be appropriate for use, say, with a chatbot, where speed is important and you want to control hallucinations. You absolutely would want to combine it with a system like AutoGen and another small model like Facebook's or Meta's new Purple Llama model, Llama Guard, so that there's a supervisor model running alongside that can reduce hallucinations, wrong answers, and prevent people from taking advantage of it. So that's Mixtral today. What's more important about the development of this model is that there is a great off-the-shelf mixture of experts large language model that outperforms GPT 3.5 Turbo and Google Gemini and Claude Anthropic 2.1 that you and I can run at home or at work with sufficient consumer hardware. We're not talking, a $50,000 A100 NVIDIA GPU. We're talking you can go to the local Apple store or local Best Buy and buy hardware to run Mixtral. And it's not going to cost you $50,000. When you consider that a model like Gemini Pro that was just released for Google Bard underperforms GPT 3.5 Turbo and underperforms Mixtral, having a model like Mixtral available that doesn't need a room full of servers is incredible. And the architecture that makes up Mixtral is one that other people can modify and train and iterate on and tune to specific purposes, so that the model makes it becomes fluent in highly specific tasks. Mixtral ships with the mixture of experts that the model makers at Mistral thought was best, but there's nothing stopping folks in the OpenWeights AI community from changing out individual experts and routing to perform other tasks. Mixtral is an example of what it would be like to have, say, an office of B+ players working together to outperform what a single A player on your team could do. Right? Think about that. It's an office full of B+ players work together. They can do more than the single A player can do, even if the A player is really good, because there's just limits. This model and this architecture is going to be a big part of the AI landscape for some time to come, and a new gold standard for what's possible in AI that you can run yourself without needing a third party's vendors, systems, cloud, whatever, running available at all times, right? You can run this if your laptop's big enough. You can run it while you're on a plane and no internet at all, and have it be good. The mixture of experts technique has performed so well in real-world tests that I would expect it to be the path forward for a lot of different AI models and applications from now on. So, pretty exciting. Also this past week, I did a lengthy training on implementing compliance with the new EU AI Act, which I talked about at the opening, which is also likely to become the gold standard for generative AI compliance around the world, in the same way GDPR has become the standard for data privacy. If you want to dig into that issue and what you need to do to comply, I just added it to the Generative AI for Marketers course. So I made this course like, it's the latest and greatest. A day later, the EU AI Act gets voted in approval, and the course is out of date. Well, now it's back in date until the next big thing comes along. But the course is open and it's up to date. There's a whole new module, and within the workbook for the course is a 10-page document of ways that you as a marketer should comply with the EU AI Act. Maybe we'll do something else on that at some point. But go get the course. It's available now. And other things this past week, I was a quiet week on the blog. I'm getting ready to do Thank Week, which is where I repost content that other people made with me, so interviews and things. So stay tuned on the blog next week for that. Did have a nice year in review podcast episode this year with Katie on the In-Ear Insights podcast, so go check that out. And the 12 Days of Data is finally done. So this is the 12 posts about 12 different data sets. We finished off with creator platforms for monetization, Twitter alternatives, aka what to use if you don't want to use Twitter. I'll give you a spoiler on that one, is Threads, and top songs on Spotify playlists. So go check that out. Let's take a look at jobs. Jobs this week: data analyst at Modea, I guess, I don't know. Digital analyst at Peak Ace AG, director of analytics and business intelligence at Mural, director of web performance at Marriott, EMEA marketing specialist and events marketing specialist at Demandbase, junior data analyst at Peak Ace, partner marketing specialist at Demandbase, payments go-to-market at Plaid, product marketing manager at Demandbase, senior B2B marketing manager at Headway, senior content marketer at Close, senior content marketing manager at Rippling, senior digital product analyst at HelloFresh, senior marketer field content strategy at Airtable, staff data scientist at Intuit, and VP of product marketing at Demandbase. Lots and lots of stuff there. No other news for this week. That column will come back in future episodes, but typically the last couple weeks of the year, it's pretty quiet on the internet for the most part. I mean, there's always something, but we'll take a break from that this week and the next. Upcoming events, I'll be in Edmonton, Alberta at the beginning of February for the Tourism Industry Association of Alberta's Tourism Summit, followed by Social Media Marketing World in San Diego, Marketing Prof's AI series in March, the Australian Food and Grocery Council in Melbourne in May, and MACON, the Marketing AI Conference in Cleveland in September. I'm going to be talking, I think, about open weights and open source there because as we see with stuff like Mixtral, the open source world is catching up rapidly to what the big tech providers have, and it would not surprise me to see that in the future, open source and open weights models overtake the big tech provider models because they're now so heavily censored that their performance is really, really struggling. This past week, I was trying to do something with Anthropic's Claude 2.1. It was a very, very straightforward query, and it spit up on me. It would not do it, even though the things it was saying were problematic weren't actually in the prompt. So who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Again, a great reason to also have open weights models available to you in case one of the big tech models just says nope, and you still need to get the task done. I hope you have a great holiday season. Again, I think we'll keep doing the newsletters, keep it consistent, but I hope you have a great holiday season and a safe one as well, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and if you want to know when new videos are available, hit the bell button to be notified as soon as new content is live.